What is the UNPA? Here's the website, UNPA campaign, giving world citizens a voice. Campaign for United Nations Parliamentary Assembly. This is their website. I'll be leaving a link to this below in the descriptions. About the campaign. The campaign for establishment of the United Nations Parliamentary Assembly, UNPA, is a global framework of parliamentarians and non-governmental organizations advocating citizens' representation at the United Nations. First launched April 2007. I want to take you to members of Parliament, Canada, 65 of them. Here's a list of them all. And I'll again leave you the link for this, but I'll bring you down to the bottom here, and you can see Justin Trudeau, Member of Parliament, Canada, since 2010. And I also want to go back and show you. There's a list of other categories. I'm going to go to feature supporters. Show. And here you have various leaders of NGOs or ex-leaders here, like John N. Turner, former Prime Minister, David Suzuki, award-winning science broadcaster, environmental activist, and author, co-founder, David Suzuki Foundation, Canada. Now, if we go back to here, I want to show you Steering Committee, a group of non-governmental organizations forms the Campaign Steering Committee. The Steering Committee guides the work of the campaign secretariat and helps to coordinate the campaign participants' activities. Each member has its own staff and resources devoted to the UNPA campaign. Additionally, the campaign builds upon the signatories for the appeal as individual supporters, primary members of Parliament. And here are some of the committees here. And this is an advisory group. Parliamentary Advisory Group develops strategy and initiates measures to strengthen parliamentary support and involvement. The group guides the steering committee and secretariat for all major policy considerations. It was established in October 2009. The group is regarded as the first step towards creation of a formal parliamentary network. Wow. Here we'll go to about the UNPA. The United Nations Parliamentary Assembly, UNPA, for the first time would give citizens representatives, not only states, a direct and influential role in global policy. The Assembly will not replace existing UN bodies, but would be an additional means to integrate parliamentarians more effectively into the shaping of globalization. A transitional step until direct election become practical and UN Parliamentarian Assembly could consist of delegates from national and possibly regional parliaments, reflecting their political diversity as well as ensuring gender equality. The UNPA would therefore include members of minority parties whose opinions are often not represented in United Nations, unlike current UN ambassadors. UNPA representatives would not be subject to the authority of national governments. These parliamentarians would be free to ask probing questions, raise sensitive issues, and table innovative proposals for consideration by the Security Council, the General Assembly, the Bretton Woods financial institutions, and other UN bodies. The great problems of our time, such as war, disease, poverty, and climate change, cannot be solved by individual nations acting alone. Direct citizens' representation could help the world develop a great understanding of itself as a global community. At the highest level of United Nations, a UNPA could function as a world conscience and watchdog and a catalyst for further reforms. Over time, the UNPA could evolve from a consultative body to a world parliament with genuine rights of information, participation, and control. Wow. Now, considering that the United Nations is also the security involved with the Security Council, we go to the Security Council, voting system and records, right to veto. This is something important people should know. The creators of the United Nations Charter conceived that 5 countries, China, France, Soviet Socialist Republic, also known as Russia, the United Kingdom, and United States, because of their key roles in the establishment of the United Nations, would continue to play important roles in the maintenance of international peace and security. They were granted a special status permanent member states as Security Council, along with the special voting power known as the right to veto. It was agreed that the drafters, if any one of the 5 permanent members cast a negative vote in a 15-member Security Council, the resolution for a decision would not be approved. Wow. Doesn't sound very democratic to me. I want to come back to this About page. And if you notice down here, they mention the Bretton Woods financial institutions. Now you could Google that up and you can get that easily on Wikipedia or whatever. But I'm going to bring you to listen to Rocco Galati, lawyer taking on the Bank of Canada lawsuit, talking at the conference held in Montreal last spring. He was asked if the Bretton Woods had anything to do with the privatization of the Canadian debt back in 1974.
Well, it's the banking system you're seeing now, which is in your face. It just goes hand in glove with that whole post Bretton Woods meeting on globalization. Basically, globalization has been a very meticulously planned. People think it just happened all of a sudden, but you know, globalization started with the European Common Market. They were going to do a trade zone in North America, but because we were so independent compared to Europe, they said you can't do it. So the way they sold it to North America was industry by industry, so that we had the Auto Pact first, and so they slowly introduced it here until we finally got NAFTA. But this control that you see from the banks just goes hand in hand with the globalization agenda to bypass sovereign nations and their constitutions and have a ruling order that nobody can touch.
If we go back to About a UNPA, they tell us about the great problems of our times, such as war, disease, poverty, and climate change. The global financial institutions and other UN bodies had more to do with creating these problems to make us want to go to a higher global authority for help. With the right people with the answers to guide us to the UN. If you step back and look at the bigger picture, knowing about the banking fraud they've managed to perpetrate on us on a global scale, and I encourage you to look on our website for more information on that, you might begin to see how they rigged our countries to fail to help us run to a perceived higher benevolent global authority to fix our problems. But what will they be able to do about war when the nations who wage war to expand the banking empire have the right to veto? Or disease? What will they do about poverty when the global bankers are involved in creating it with their debt-based economy they set up for us? Climate change has been a hot topic as of late, and they want us to believe that it's a real problem on a global scale. It was actually started by Maurice Strong back in the 1970s. Again, a quick Google search, in this case Wikipedia, we see who he is. Maurice Strong, born April 29th, 1929, died November 27th, 2015. That was just before the climate summit in Paris. Was a Canadian oil and mineral businessman, a diplomat who served as Under-Secretary General of the United Nations. Strong had his start as an entrepreneur in Alberta oil patch and was president of Power Corporation until 1966. In the early 1970s, he was Secretary General to the United Nations Conference on Human Environment. He then became the first executive director of the United Nations Environment Program. He returned to Canada to become Chief Executive Officer of Petro-Canada. Honorable Maurice Frederick Strong. Obviously, he had some UN connections. If we scroll down here, Earth Summit. Now I'm going to take you to our website, and here we have Earth Summit, and it's a video. And I'm not going to play it for you. I'm going to just bring you down to the description below. This classic video, produced by George Hunt, exposes how the progenitors of the hijacked environment movement, people like Maurice Strong, the Rothschild family, and David Rockefeller, always intended the scam to achieve global population reduction, along with the global carbon tax based on a cap and trade system controlled by them. Carbon tax. Yeah, this is something that we should be taking a look at there. Anyway, going back to Maurice Strong, go scroll up. Strong lobbied to change NGO perspective on the global bank. He is believed by some to have inspired the works of former U.S. Vice President Al Gore on climate change. Al Gore on climate change. Oh, here we got. Don't look at this. 2005 oil for food scandal. Well, according to this, Mr. Strong was never accused of any wrongdoing. During the inquiry, Strong stepped down from his UN post, stating he would sideline himself until the cloud was removed. Well, that'd be a good thing. Honors and awards. Wow. Other honors and awards. Queen's Privy Council. Anybody with the name Honorable is a member of the Queen's Privy Council. Well, if we go to Queen's Privy Council, here, this is appointees to the Queen's Privy Council must recite the requisite oath. I, name, do solemnly, sincerely swear, declare, that I shall be true and faithful servant to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. As a member of Her Majesty the Queen's Privy Council of Canada, I will in all things be treated, debated, and resolved in Privy Council faithfully, honestly, and truly declare my mind and my opinion, and shall keep secret all matters committed and revealed to me in the capacity or that shall be secretly treated of in council. Generally in all things I shall do as a faithful and true servant ought to do for Her Majesty. Wow. Let's go back to his page on Wikipedia and scroll down. Here, we got David Suzuki Foundation, honorary board member. You could click on that and it'll take you to David Suzuki Foundation, but I want to take you to his website where you can see where he clearly endorses the carbon tax. Although the UNPA is just another one of the UN bodies, as they put it, I hope I gave you some things to think about before you sign a petition for the UN or even petitioning your government for more action on various issues. Although endorsed by people whom you may respect and admire, you may be asking for the very thing the globalists want because they may have been influenced and possibly benefiting through globalist steering committees. Our politicians may act on one or more issues you may ask for and leave you hanging for the rest. They may also be making decisions to help push other globalist agendas by rejecting the UN. In closing, I'm going to play the speech our last Prime Minister made after the G20 in Toronto. At I-ACUSE, we want to offer alternatives to what we can do together on a united front I want to invite you to come check us out at I-ACUSE.com. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more.
The number one issue we have today in Canada and have had for the past couple of years, without a shadow of a doubt, is the economy. But as I constantly remind Canadians, there isn't really a Canadian economy anymore. It is a global economy. And yes, the Canadian economy, so to speak, is doing better than many other countries. But the general trajectory of the Canadian economy, whether we're on the down or downhill as we were last year, or whether we're on the rebound as we are this year, is fundamentally determined by the state of the global economy. And that's what these meetings are all about, and that's why they are so critical. That's why it's so critical that we participate and play a major role, because Canadian jobs and Canadian futures are intimately linked to what goes on here. And quite frankly, everything that we do in our country to improve our country's position is ultimately to improve that position within the context of a global economy. And we cannot be effective at major economic matters any longer unless we work with our other economic partners around the world and work with them closely and intimately. That is essential. I know some people don't like it. It's a loss of national sovereignty, but it is a simple reality. It is a simple reality that we are in a global economy. The global economy is determining where we're headed and will determine our future, and we have to play our part in these forums to make sure that our interests are protected and advanced.